A decided underdog against the Southeastern Conference champion Gators, Notre Dame pulled a nifty about-face, especially on the defensive side of the ball. The Irish held once-beaten Florida without a touchdown for 53 minutes. They used coverage-oriented strategy to frustrate Gator quarterback Shane Matthews time after time. And they made the going especially sticky for the Gators anytime they approached the Irish goal line. Meanwhile, the Notre Dame offense and the running game in particular put on a second-half clinic. Down 13-0 at one point and 16-7 at halftime, the Irish ran for 245 yards in the last two periods alone. Rick Meyer completed 14 of his 19 throws, including touchdown passes to Lake Dawson and Irv Smith. But it was Jerome Bettis, Rodney Culver, Tony Brooks, and the Irish offensive line that dominated the final two periods. Bettis ran for 150 yards by himself, scoring all three of his touchdowns in a 3-minute span late in the final period.
Who was all the way downfield, and the ball hit him on the arms.
And here goes Bettis, the up back, all the way for the touchdown, Notre Dame.
Well, Spurrier was right. And Notre Dame again with a lot of satisfaction as the big man just explodes. Jerome Bettis carrying his 250 into the end zone.
3rd and 5.
They've got to gamble.
39-yard line. They give it to Bettis. He picks up the first down again and a touchdown.
Unbelievable. You put them all up there, you get the seam and you're gone. We've seen it twice in minutes. I'll tell you right now, those 5 offensive linemen in my mind are the MVPs of this football game for Notre Dame. If there's any justice, he's not even getting touched. If there's any justice in this world, those 5 guys and throw in the tight ends are going to win something. They have certainly dominated the second half.
The 39-28 Notre Dame victory set the standard for the season to come and let Holtz and his Irish see exactly where they wanted to end up by the time the '92 campaign concluded. With 9 starters returning on defense and an offensive nucleus featuring Meyer, Bettis, Dawson, Smith, and offensive line starters Aaron Taylor, Justin Hall, and Lindsey Knapp, the Irish again had the potential to be one of the nation's better football teams. How well would all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place for the 1992 Irish? 11 fall Saturdays to come would provide the answer.
But we just felt we had to play 60 minutes. They're an outstanding team. You know, I give them all the credit in the world, but we're happy to win. I can hardly wait to go back to that restaurant where the waiter said, Cheerios and Notre Dame the difference, Cheerios belong in the bowl. I think we proved we belong here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
With 3rd-ranked Notre Dame kicked off the '92 campaign against Northwestern. The site was Chicago's Soldier Field. Reggie Brooks set the tone for his record-breaking season on the very first Irish possession with a pair of gains in double figures. The Irish defense put together an impressive goal line stand, stopping the Wildcats 4 times from the 5. And that seemed to take the air out of the Northwestern hopes. Brooks supplied one of the final blows in the 42-7 victory.
Here's Meyer on the handoff, the ball going to the tailback. Brooks breaks the tackle, gets away from another, cuts to the left. He's going to run for a touchdown at the 50. There's no one near him. At the 30, at the 15, the 10, the 5, and a touchdown by Reggie Brooks, all because he brought 2 tackles on the way.
The Irish still had some tinkering to do with their defense, but 157 rushing yards from Brooks and 130 more from Bettis suggested that the Notre Dame ground game hadn't lost its touch.
Reggie Brooks moving into his own. He switched numbers. He was 41 a year ago, now 40, the same number worn by his brother Tony last year, and the same number worn by their dad Raymond at Booker T. Washington in Tulsa. That is Brooks' favorite play. The counter. Here's the option. Brooks on the pitch. Brooks through. Brooks! Touchdown!
I don't remember the play initially. I only remember what I saw on the film the next day.
It looked to me like Reggie Brooks may have been knocked unconscious for a moment right at the goal line. One of the most spectacular runs you are ever going to see.
That game was probably the craziest game I've ever been a part of from a weather standpoint. Literally, I was shivering in the huddle.
4th and goal. The ball on the Penn State 4-yard line. Nittany Lions leading 16-9, 25 seconds left. Meyer floats it for Bettis. Touchdown!
We always practice a 2-point conversion for every game. Well, we used our practice 2-point conversion for the touchdown to Jerome, so we really Coach Holtz came up with the play on the fly. Coach Holtz would just say, hey, you go here, you go there, and blah, 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 and it was based off of a play we had and we had used, but it's kind of weird because you think about it, it's like he basically came up with a play on the fly, and we never even thought twice about going out and executing it because, well, that's what he did. We were used to it.
Trips left. Bettis right. Meyer. Yes! Brooks!
I remember it felt like slow motion. I was in the back of the end zone. I couldn't get open. And I remember Rick Meyer rolling to his right, and I was going to the right. And I just remember Rick throwing the ball up. And I looked, and it looked like it was so far out of my reach, I said, oh, my gosh, this ball's going out of bounds. I remember just looking and watching Reggie Brooks come out of nowhere and catch that pass.
By no means was I the primary, secondary, or third read, so I really wasn't even in the progression. I was just the guy to help clear out the defenders, particularly the safety and the linebacker, to try to draw them to open it up for Irv Smith. Everyone went to Irv, and no one was covering me.
This throw, Meyer looks, rolls to the right, pump fake, throws the ball. It is caught. Reggie Brooks got it.
I caught 2 passes over the course of that year, and that was actually the second pass that I caught. I wore glasses, and thus I wore contacts during the games. Well, you're not going to wear glasses in practice. So I never wore glasses in practice, but I didn't wear my contacts either because they irritated my eyes and they were uncomfortable. So I had trouble seeing the ball in practice, and I didn't think it was pertinent to tell anybody that I didn't wear my contacts in practice. So inevitably I didn't catch a lot of balls in practice. The misconception is, oh, he has bad hands. No, I didn't pick up the ball well in practice, but the times that I was throwing the ball in the game, I was successful because I could see the ball.
Reggie Brooks. Coach Holtz said he knew they'd have great play at tailback, but even he didn't anticipate the season that young man has had.
Date, 5th-ranked Notre Dame traveled to Los Angeles to battle 19th-rated USC with a couple of goals in mind. The Irish not only were seeking their 10th straight triumph over the Trojans in this storied rivalry, but also were trying to defeat a ranked opponent in 3 straight games for only the 4th time in Notre Dame history. The Trojans figured to pose a particularly major challenge for Notre Dame's running attack, thanks to a defense giving up less than 100 yards per game on the ground. But the Irish offensive line, led by seniors Justin Hall, Lindsey Knapp, and Todd Norman, plus juniors Aaron Taylor and Tim Ruddy, decided to make an early statement of its own. After a USC field goal, Notre Dame's first possession began with an 8-yard burst by Reggie Brooks. Notre Dame needed only 7 plays, all runs, to take the lead. For Brooks, it was just the beginning of an evening he would long remember. The Trojans rebounded to grab a 13-10 advantage late in the second period. But Notre Dame's senior tailback made certain it didn't last long with a spectacular response. The Notre Dame defense made a statement of its own as the second half began. Rick Meyer combined with Irv Smith for a 29-yard gain to start the offense rolling. Then on 1st and 10, Brooks shook off effects of a stomach virus to work his magic one more time. The Irish stop troops continued to match wits with the Trojan aerial show. A season-high 6 sacks ensured the Trojan quarterback, Rob Johnson, became more familiar than he might have liked with Devon McDonald, Bryant Hamilton, and Bryant Young. In the end, it was the relentless Notre Dame running game that earned superior marks in front of 90,000 fans in the Los Angeles Coliseum. On his way to a career-high 227-yard effort, Brooks blazed into the secondary and the record books time and time again. Bettis finished off the scoring with an 8-yard touchdown run of his own for a 31-23 lead. USC had one last opportunity, and the Trojans were knocking at the door with a first down at the Irish 5 with less than a minute remaining. But Devon McDonald nailed Johnson for a 7-yard loss. Finally, it was junior cornerback Tom Carter who cemented the win with 10 seconds remaining with a pressure-packed play of his own. The Irish finished with 330 ground yards against the nation's 6th-ranked rushing defense. It was a fitting finale for Brooks and the rest of the seniors as they ended the regular season with Notre Dame's 6th consecutive victory. Coach Lou Holtz knew at this point that his Irish had developed into a complete football team that was as competent as any in the country.